Good morning, everybody. I'm David Adams, President of the Board of Trustees of the Monte Vista UU congregation. Before we begin our service, just a few announcements about things happening in March. I was going to say time marches on, but that would be a bad pun. A couple of things. On Saturday, March 9th, so that's this coming Saturday, there will be, excuse me, a special celebration to dedicate our new labyrinth, which is a portable labyrinth. Now, if you can't imagine what that is, you'll find out when you come. The celebration is going to start at 5 p.m. with food, music, meditation, and of course an opportunity to enjoy and walk the labyrinth. So join in for that. So that's next Saturday. Sunday, March 17th is not only St. Patrick's Day, but it will be the kickoff for our annual pledge drive, spring pledge drive. You'll hear more about that soon. We will be having a potluck picnic that day. And so I have a sign-up sheet, which Debbie, I think, helped prepare. And it will be on the green table in the back. So sign up. And we'll have a nice celebration there too. A reminder from our able treasurer, Carissa Moore, that if you are a committee chair, you need to have your budget request for the 24-25 budget in to her by midnight on the 17th. So fill out your request before the potluck, and then you can enjoy the food without a guilty conscience. So let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, and so lastly, there will be a class for new members on Sunday, March 24th after the service. So if you're new to Unitarian Universalism, or you'd like to learn more about it, or you're considering becoming a member, then that's the meeting for you. Okay, so that will be 3 weeks from today. All right, well, I think that's it. So we will begin our service with our very own minister, Rev Maggie Yenoki.
Thanks, David. And hi, everyone. Thank you all for being here. I hope you feel welcome and cozy and warm, or at least cozy and together. Yeah, when I see a few empty seats, I'm like, oh, I kind of wish maybe I didn't put that notice in the order of service that went out electronically to warn us that SoCal Gas has not yet given us the go-ahead to come and relight our gas line, but it's coming soon. We're a few steps closer to that. So we look forward to being warm here again, and today will depend on all of us to give warmth to one another. It's also the first Sunday of a new month, as David mentioned. So when we have a new month come around, we like to celebrate those who have a birthday during that month. Can I see any March babies? Hands? Oh, Ellen, Thorne, Ellen, wow. Jimmy, and of St. Patrick, but he doesn't count. But we'll sing to him anyway, right? We'll include him. Let's sing happy birthday, and instead of the name, we'll squeeze in March babies, okay? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, March babies. Happy birthday to you. Awesome. That was great. I can't wait for July. So I was thinking, as I was on Amazon, and thinking how sometimes ringing the bowl makes me go, that sounded a little sour. So I bought a fun thing. We always start our service with the ringing of the bowl, but I thought, oh, let me just play this drum. We ring it 3 times, yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Yeah. We ring it for yesterday and for all those who came before, our ancestors, our founding members, and for the Tongva and other indigenous peoples whose ancient and present day matrilineal societies care deeply for this land that we now share with them as home. And we ring it to celebrate today. We welcome those gathered here. I'm so happy to have the choir. For everyone who's joining us online, for our staff, our awesome staff, those who are visiting us, we have some visitors today, our friends and sustaining members, our partnership congregation in the Philippines, and because it's March, for all the women in the world, and for all beings who walk with us on this spiritual journey we share. And as we await tomorrow, we ring it for all who will come and walk with us on this incredible path that is ever unfolding. I invite you to stand with me and we'll sing out our opening song, We Give Thanks. And I'm going to invite Jimmy Grissom, since it's your birthday month, to come and light our chalice today. Lynn will assist. We could set it right on your tray. We could do anything here. Just touch it. You almost got it. Just touch the spark to the wick and it should take right off. Down a little bit. There it goes. You did it. Awesome. Thank you. Here, let me get this here. This stops me from falling off the booster step here. That's why I don't like being put on pedestals. So let us hear these chalice lighting words inspired by Connie Simon. This is the hour. The time has come. Mindful of our responsibilities as leaders and caretakers of this faith and guardians of the living tradition, we call upon that great cloud of witnesses, those who came before, those who are here now, and those who have yet to come. We seek their presence, love, and support in this place at this hour, and we kindle this flame to light their path and call them near as we undertake this sacred work. I'm going to ask you to stand again as we sing our anthem, Spirit of Life. We'll sing first in English, then Spanish, and then we will recite our covenant together right after that.
Spirit of life, come unto me, sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion, blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice, roots hold me close.
Love you, Jarius, even when you make mistakes. We affirm that love is the greatest purpose of this congregation. The search for truth is our constant star, and service is our prayer. We pledge our hearts, minds, and hands to challenge injustice with courage, to make choices for a healthier planet, and to live out our Unitarian, Universalist values every day as beloved community. Thus do we covenant with each other and with all that is sacred in life. Please be seated as we enjoy the hard work and beautiful gifts of the best choir Monte Vista's ever had. Yeah. No pressure. It's time for our wisdom tale. It'll be told by Robert Tidwell, our Director of Lifespan Religious Exploration. Robert?
Good morning, everybody. Today's story is Come a Tide, and it's by George Ella Lyon with pictures by Stephen Gammell. Stephen Gammell illustrated some of my favorite children's stories, and when I was looking for a book, I was like, ooh, I know that name. And I read this, and I was like, oh, it's perfect. So I hope you guys enjoy it. And I will put it on the RE table if anybody wants to look at the watercolor illustrations after the service. Last March, it snowed, and then it rained for 4 days and nights. It'll come a tide, my grandma said. And sure enough, when all the creeks rushed down the river like kinfolks coming home, it did. It washed away the little gardens on Clover Fork, pigs and chickens on Martin's Fork, and a whole front porch on Poor Fork. We stood on our bridge and watched them swirl by. Ooh-wee, ooh-wee, cried the pigs. The river nudged the bridge bottom. Still we boasted, it won't flood us. But we left our radios crackling that night when we went to sleep. The warning whistle didn't have to blow twice. Cloudburst, the radio said, wall of water coming down. In 5 minutes, we jumped into our clothes and were headed for the truck. Did you hear the whistle? Do you want to go with us? Mama called out to our neighbor, Mrs. Mack. Joe won't go till he finds his teeth, so I've put on a pot of coffee. Did you hear the whistle? Do you want to come with us? Mama called out to the Canes across the street. I can't catch Donald, John yelled back. It's that duck, his mother hollered. John has to save the one thing that swims. Don't stall on our account. Did you hear the whistle? Do you want to go with us? Mama called to Papa Bill next door. I heard it, but I've got me a boat and I'm aiming to find the oars. Rain came down like curtains as we drove up Grandma's hill. She fed us warmed over biscuits and coffee stout as a post. Then she sent us to bed. When light flooded in and I was asleep, Daddy went out scouting. Water up to the piano keys, but the house is solid. What do we do now? If it was me, Grandma said, I'd make friends with a shovel. And we did. The Macks, the Canes, Papa Bill. Next day, everyone was shoveling soggy furniture and mud-mapped rugs, made mountains in front of each house. It's got us this time, we had to admit, taking lunch at the rescue wagon, but we dug and hauled and scrubbed and crawled to find our buried treasures. Now we'll be fine, except in spring when the snow and rain come together. Then I'll hold my breath and hope Grandma won't say, children, it'll come a tide. So now the children can come up and get our chalice if we have any who want to go to our classrooms today. And you guys can sing us out to class.
Great time. Love learning. As a spiritual community whose mission calls us to service, justice, spiritual growth, education, and fellowship, we are committed to be a people to whom good stewardship matters. It's our second nature. And when there is a need, generosity is our first response. One way that we live out that mission is to share half of our offerings that are not designated to our annual budget pledges with an organization that aligns with our mission and our values. And for the month of March, our Share the Plate will be gathered as a contribution for the ICUUW, the International Convocation of UU Women. And Julie Steinbach is here to tell us about this worldwide UU organization.
Thank you, Maggie. You all have in your order of service a brochure about ICUUW. I want to give you my personal connection and passion for this organization. Imagine a world where women and girls have an equal say in decisions that affect their lives, their bodies, their policies, and their environment. Imagine a world in which women and girls can live free of fear and violence and have access to quality and affordable education and health care. The International Convocation of Unitarian and Universalist Women, ICUUW, nudges forward progress towards that reality through leadership development, awareness programs, resources, and advocacy at the United Nations. Our brochure says on the front, we accelerate progress. I say nudges forward, because this kind of systemic paradigm shift is more glacial than speedy. Gender equality is not only a fundamental human right, but essential to addressing the world's unprecedented intertwined global crises, from food insecurity and climate change to conflict and gender-based violence. Through your support, ICUUW continues to empower women and girls around the world to break down barriers, because we know that women and girls, when empowered, will change the world. Some of our recent or ongoing programs include support for asylum-seeking women and their families and grassroots organizations for immigrant BIPOC communities in the U.S., violence prevention programs, as well as sexual and reproductive health workshops in Kenya, Hungary, India, the Philippines, and Romania, entrepreneurial skills training in Bolivia and Kenya, workshops enhancing women's mental well-being and resilience in Romania, support for indigenous Guatemalan communities to create women's food forests. And the biggest one that we're very proud of is humanitarian relief for families fleeing war in Ukraine, including educational support for refugee children in Romania. Our most dramatically successful fundraising effort was launched within 5 days of the Ukraine invasion 2 years ago. We have thus far raised over $120,000 and continue to provide an elementary school program in Romania for the Ukrainian children, including teaching them the Cyrillic alphabet so they will be able to function literately and educationally when they return eventually to Ukraine. ICUUW developed out of a women's conference in Houston in 2009, bringing women from the Texas Church's Transylvanian partnerships to the U.S., along with a few women from the Philippines, India, and Bolivia. The camaraderie, inspiration, and projects developed in Houston were such that the Romanian women said, "This is so great, next time in Romania," which happened in 2012. Subsequent gatherings were held in Bolivia in 2015, Monterey, California in 2017. Then COVID delayed the next one until this year in Transylvania in September. We're expecting over 200 women to gather again to develop and strengthen connections and friendships, to continue to create projects, programs, and partnerships. Of course, you're invited. A 6-day pre-tour will include sites of Unitarian history dating back over 450 years. Maribel and I are already signed up. The last 2 pages of the brochure outline the specific place, dates, and program theme with more details on our website. But back to the present, specifically this month of March, when International Women's Day is celebrated around the world on March 8th. And the annual Women's Issues event is held at the United Nations, the 2-week meeting of the Commission on the Status of Women. ICUUW attained consultative status to the Economic and Social Council, ECOSOC, of the UN in 2019, joining approximately 3,900 other NGOs from around the world, entitling us to participate in sessions at the UN. Like last year, our delegation of 12 will include Bruce Knotts, former head of the now closed UUUN office, who has also spoken here at Monte Vista. Bruce actively supports and promotes ICUUW because, as he said, we need ICUUW now more than ever. It's the only organization maintaining relationships with UUs around the world. It's an example of living into our UU sixth principle, the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. From ICUUW's perspective, liberty and justice for all includes all genders. Justice for all also means economic justice, specifically for our very small part-time staff. The vast majority of program creation, outreach, and support is done by volunteers, but someone has to write the proposals that generate funding, coordinate and track projects and progress. Our talented executive director, marketing assistant, and bookkeeper are all part-time, vastly underpaid, and extraordinarily committed. Just to be clear, the share the plates being done in at least 20 congregations around the country this year all go to support the organization's infrastructure so that the work of empowering women internationally can continue. Imagine all the women sharing all the rights. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope today you'll join us, and the world will live as equal. Thank you. So come on forward to our offering basket or online to the donate button and support us. Thank you.
As a congregation, we like sharing the things that are happening in our lives, and we do that in many ways. Some just privately, and others like to share with the congregation things that are happening. We have these, for those who are new to us, we have these yellow cards on the table there, so if there's something ever that you want to share with the congregation, you can put it there, or you can come up and borrow the minister's computer and type one out. And that's what someone did last week. Thorn, I don't have it on my screen, but Thorn sent a beautiful message on my computer and just wanted to thank the congregation for welcoming her back. So yeah, we're glad you're here. Welcome. We love you. I have a couple that I typed in. People talk to me during the week, or I think of things. I'm like, oh, I got to put that in Joys and Concerns. One is that next Sunday is daylight savings time already. Yeah. So at 9:30 next Sunday, Lily will be playing the opening music for. She'll be playing the prelude. So please don't be late for church. Set your clocks ahead next week, or let them just do what they do. Yeah, most of mine changed themselves. Yeah. Also want to let everybody know that George is recovering well after his second cataract surgery. One from Debbie Skirdo, who says she's grateful that her daughter Erin is safely back last night from Berlin, Germany, after a successful work trip for EJI to be inspired by the Holocaust memorials. Yeah. Wonder if she'd share any of that with us. We have that Brian Stevenson connection, so maybe on Zoom she'll do a Zoom. talk with us, to teach us what she learned. Yeah. We will hold Diane and Dave and everyone, and Thorne and Aaron and George in our hearts as we pray. When I put the service together, I think, meditate, reach out, listen, all of those things to find what prayer would be just right for whoever will be there on Sunday. And sometimes we go back to one that I've shared in the past. And that's what we're going to do today. It's from John O'Donohue, and I don't think anyone ever minds hearing his words. It's from his book, To Bless the Space Between Us, which was one of my favorites during COVID when no one could be together, right? So it's called, For One Who is Exhausted. When the rhythm of the heart becomes hectic, time takes on the strain until it breaks. Then all of the unattended stress falls in on the mind like an endless, increasing weight. The light in the mind becomes dim, and things you could take in your stride before now become laborsome events of will. Weariness invades your spirit, and gravity begins falling inside you, dragging down every bone. The tide you never valued has gone out, and you are marooned on unsure ground. Something within you has closed down, and you cannot push yourself back to life. You've been forced to enter empty time. The desire that drove you has relinquished, and there is nothing else to do now but rest and patiently learn to receive the self you have forsaken for the race of days. At first, your thinking will darken and sadness take over like listless weather. The flow of unwept tears may frighten you. You have traveled too fast over false ground, and now your soul has come to take you back, to take refuge in your senses and open up to all of the small miracles that you rushed through. Become inclined to watch the way of rain when it falls slow and free. Imitate the habit of twilight, taking time to open the well of color that fostered the brightness of day. Draw alongside the silence of stone until its calmness can claim you. Be excessively gentle with yourself. Let me repeat that. Be excessively gentle with yourself. And a third time. Be excessively gentle with yourself. Stay clear of those who are vexed in spirit and learn to linger around someone of ease who feels they have all the time in the world. And gradually, you will return to yourself, having learned a new respect for your heart and the joy that dwells far within slow time. I invite you to sing gently from your seat our gentle song today, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. It's number 1008 in our teal hymnal. The words are on the screen.
When our heart is in a holy place, our heart is in a holy place. We are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, we cover
Our reading today is titled The Sound of One Fork, and it's written by Minnie Bruce Pratt. Is anyone familiar? Yeah. Minnie Bruce Pratt was an American poet, educator, activist, and essayist. She retired in 2015 from her position as a professor of writing and women's studies at Syracuse University, my hometown, where she developed the university's first LGBT studies program. She died in July of 2023 from a glioblastoma in the loving care of my good friends, Michael DeSalvo and Nick Orth, at Friends of Dorothy House in their in-home hospice in Syracuse, where my brother Tom also died in 2009. Let's hear her words in this poem that Nick told me was one of her favorites. The Sound of One Fork. Through the window screen, I can see an angle of gray roof and the silence that spreads in the branches of the pecan tree as the sun goes down. I am waiting for a lover. I am alone in solitude that vibrates like the cicada in hot mid-morning, that waits like the lobed sassafras leaf just before its dark green turns red, that waits like the honeybee in the mouth of the purple lobelia. And while I wait, I can hear the random click of one fork against a plate. The woman next door is eating supper alone. She is 60, perhaps, and for many years has eaten by herself the tomatoes, the corn, and the okra that she grows in her backyard garden. Her small metallic sound persists, as quiet almost as the windless silence, persists like the steady random click of a redbird cracking a few more seeds before the sun gets too low. She does not hurry. She does not linger. Her young neighbors think that she is lovely, but I know what sufficiency she may possess. I know what can be gathered from year to year and gathered from what is near to hand, and I do. Elderberries that bend in damp thickets by the road, gathered and preserved, jars and jars shining in rows of claret red, made at times with help, a friend or a lover, but consumed long after they're gone and I sit alone at the kitchen table. And when I sit in the last heat of Sunday, afternoons on the porch in the acid breath of the boxwoods, I also know desolation. The week is over, the coming night will not lift. I am exhausted from making each day. My family, my children live in other states. The woman I love is in other towns. I would rather be here than with them in the old ways. But when all that's left of the sunset is the red reflection underneath the clouds, when I get up and come in to fix supper in the dark kitchen, I'm often lonely for them. In the morning and the evening, we are by ourselves, the woman next door and I. But still we persist. I open the drawer to get out the silverware. She goes to her garden to pull weeds and pick the crookneck squash that turns yellow with late summer. I walk down to the pond in the morning to watch and wait for the blue heron who comes at first light to feed on minnows that swim through her shadow in the water. She stays until the day grows so bright that she cannot endure it and leaves with her hunger unsatisfied. She bows her wings and slowly lifts into flight, gray and slate blue against a paler sky. But I know she will come back. I see the light create a russet curve of land on the farther bank where the wild rice bends heavy and ripe under the first blackbirds. I know she will come back. I see the light curve in the fall and the rise of her wing. Thank you. Thank you for all the work that you guys put into your little small group. Really. I'm so grateful. On February 20th of last year, just over a year now, Assistant Minister Reverend Monica Dobbins brought a message to our congregation in Salt Lake City that she titled, "The Future of Our Living Tradition." In her sermon, Reverend Monica talks about our shared journey toward the proposed changes to Article 2 of the bylaws of our Association of Congregations that will come to a vote at our General Assembly scheduled to be held completely online this year on June 20th through 23rd, just a few months from now. I'm registered to attend that. I'm sure some of you are as well. A recording of her complete Sunday service that includes her message is available as one of the resources that the Unitarian Universalist Association, and for new visitors, that's our Faith Traditions headquarters in Boston, they're offering to us as one of their congregations to, as a component of the information that's available to help us learn more about the proposed changes to the bylaws of our Association of Congregations that we unfold just a bit more today. I do hope you will allow yourselves the opportunity to listen to her message on YouTube. I found it engaging and edifying and nearly 99.9% free of persuasion. I've also included a copy of the text to the Study Commission's proposed changes to Article 2 as an insert in your order of service this morning. Section C-2.2 is copied on the front side, or one side, because it gives you the text of the proposed values and covenant and shares the phrasing that is proposed to accompany the flower graphic, they're calling it, on the cover of your order of service today. And the link to these and other resources are available on the association's website at uua.org, but it's kind of difficult to mine through it and get to the actual YouTube that you want to watch or document you want to read. But there's a URL that can be found near the bottom of the email you received this morning with our order of service and the button to connect online via Zoom. And we will also keep that direct link to this information included in our weekly newsletter, our Community Connections, that's emailed out every Thursday. It's down near the bottom, but you'll find it. It's labeled well. It seems that we have been keeping a bit of our focus on the progress of the Article 2 Study Commission since they were formed in 2021, keeping one another in the loop to new articles and following the conversations of those who are involved at a deeper level. But now that we have their proposal ready for the vote of the Assembly, our interest and perhaps our tension is piqued. So it's important that we stay engaged with this historic shift and do what we can to stay informed as the process unfolds. And my challenge is to not only observe this unfolding with a balanced, unbiased curiosity and wisdom, but to encourage and nourish your connection to our faith and invite your hearts and minds to come along on this windy and sometimes windy adventure. And that will mean something different to each one of us. And much will depend on how long and how deeply we have been living as disciples of this living tradition. Whether you're curiosity and concern is all-consuming to you, and perhaps you feel a bit of anger toward this change, or if you're observing from a place of safety with one hand on the doorknob, or somewhere in between. It's my hope that you will sense my support for your personal search for truth and meaning as you study these proposed changes from a well-informed perspective and an optimistic vision for this faith that we love and that we will hand on to our descendants. In a world that is changing so quickly that we can only dream of what being a Unitarian Universalist will mean in the future. This is a very sensitive issue and a sore topic for many of us. So it is one we unfold with wisdom and care. In many ways, it seems almost cruel of them to propose even the slightest degree of change to our congregations at such a tender time in our world. Why would we intentionally bring radical change to something so close to our heart, the center of our lives, when the world already feels unsafe to many of us? With the now endemic presence of COVID, in a time of eco-anxiety and political antagonism that's off the charts, we have this. But then again, I have to remind myself of this often. We are here for spiritual growth and service. And sometimes we simply can't see the ways that we need to grow or the ways that we can best serve. Growth is often, maybe always, a painful process. And service sometimes asks more of us than we were prepared to offer. Ask the board right now, with everything we're going through with the building, right? But in time, the changes that we've endured do bring a new way. And they open us up to new ways of being that we never imagined. The reason that we began pursuing any revisions, as Reverend Dobbins mentions, is because we were not in compliance with our own UUA bylaws that require an examination and an updating of the wording to Article 2 every 15 years to ensure alignment with cultural and language shifts. And the last change was 39 years ago, in 1985. Movements have arisen to change them along the way, like the creation of the proposed 8th principle that many of our congregations have adopted, but it was not formally adopted by the UUA. The 8th principle was written to hold us accountable to racism and supremacy of all kinds. There was also a gentle push to reword the 1st principle to read that we covenant to affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every being, not person. I'll probably hold on to my personal hope for an edit to the 4th principle that would include a bit of accountability for us individually, because it's our job to create truth and meaning that we spend our lives responsibly searching for. Stop that exhausting search and start making it. They didn't change it, though. So despite our discontent with some of their phrasing, our 7 principles have become our statement of belief. It is a creed for our non-creedal covenantal faith. Words that we have grown to love and live by. And though we each have a unique story, our own special love story that tells our version of how we felt when we first heard them or read them. I'm remembering a time when April stood in this pulpit and just opened our hymnal and read them, and we both stood here crying because they were so beautiful. Do you remember that? But we have to admit that we share a love for them that prevents any consideration for the proposed values, even if there are no action verbs, and we can't find the word love. We know love is intended, right? And we know that action is required, right? And we know we don't want anyone replacing our principles, right? Wrong. Sorry. They're not ours. And neither is this faith. We are the caretakers, the caregivers of a faith so large and so incredible that we know it could change the world because it changed ours. But it doesn't belong to us. And we will tend it and grow it and pass it on to the next generation. And it better be in good shape when we do. Or like the founder of the Boy Scouts, Robert Baden-Powell, is known to have said, leave this world or this faith a little better than you found it. I don't think that it's possible without changing it, even during incredibly vulnerable times, because that's what we do in times such as these. We change. We change with the times, and we change in response. And we change to strengthen as new truths are revealed. And opportunities to change are always being offered to us. And as our Unitarian ancestor, James Luther Adams, reminds us, revelation is not sealed. We will always be choosing to change, and we will always be resisting change in our lives. So let us pout and spout and resist if we must, because the principles are worth fighting for. But please, please promise me that you will take this proposed wording home with you and study it and open to it and pray over it if that's your practice, but don't read it as a replacement for the principles. Promise me you'll read it as if you had no idea what Unitarian Universalism was. And you just found this document for the first time. And you were on your last leg, and you needed this faith more than anything. And here it is. Blessed be. And love will guide us. Let's sing that. Stand as you're comfortable. It's number 131 in our gray hymnal, and the words will be on the screen. Remain standing. Let's offer our unison benediction together. As we close our time together and extinguish our chalice flame, may we remember to let love guide us. May we be kind, be brave, be just, be merciful, and be hopeful. For when we do, we keep the chalice flame as a guide for our lives until we gather to light it again in this sacred place where we belong. Please stay and enjoy refreshments and conversation after the post-lull.